things related to crop production. How the crops are produced, what is the meaning of crop and how they are managed. So let's begin with the first term. Agriculture is a Latin word. It is derived from two Latin words, that is agre and culture. Agre means field and culture means to cultivate, to produce. So to produce anything on a field in a large scale is called as agriculture. Now agriculture, the horticulture is also related to agriculture. In horticulture, the flowers, the flowering plants, vegetables and fruits are grown. So horticulture is the cultivation of flowering plants, fruits and vegetables. Now agriculture, there are certain things you need to remember regarding agriculture. Now agriculture includes agricultural implements. Agriculture is a word that it is made up of two different Latin words. Ager means field and culture means production. Now a production on the field is called as agriculture. So agriculture is the scientific term which is used in a broader sense for the cultivation of plants on a large scale and rearing of animals for the benefit of humans, for the profit of humans. That is called as agriculture. So agriculture includes crop production also and animal rearing also. Now comes to the horticulture. Horticulture is that field of agriculture. It is only a part of agriculture only. It is that part of agriculture in which we are dealing with flowering plants, fruits and vegetables. So the cultivation of flowering plants, cultivation of fruits, cultivation of vegetables all comes under horticulture. Now for the agriculture, the farmers need to have certain agricultural implements, agricultural tools. The things that we use for our agricultural practices are called as agricultural implements or tools. Now you must be wondering, what are the agricultural tools? The examples of agricultural tools include tractor, hoe and cultivator, plow machine, plowshare, harvester. All these are included in agricultural equipments. Now what is a field? A field is a place where a crop is grown, a large area of flat land where the soil is beneficial for the growth of the crops. That is called as a field. Now agricultural practice. The agricultural growing of crops and cultivating of plants and rearing of animals all comes land. Crop refers to a same type of plants grown on a large area of field, large area of land. That is called as crop. Now come to the produce. What we get from the crops, that is called as a produce. We get, suppose we grow wheat plant in the field. We grow a large, on a large scale we grow a wheat plant. So what will we get with that? What will be the produce? Wheat will be the produce. So the end product is called as produce. What we get from sowing the crops, that is called as a produce. And if the produce is good enough, then the farmers will get more profit and then the agriculture will become a profitable business. Now comes to the crop seasons. There are different seasons of crop production and different type of crops are grown in different seasons. Because as we all know that India's agriculture depends upon the monsoon, the rainy season. How much amount of rain is there in the particular year determines the amount of produce in the agricultural industry. So there are basically two main crop seasons in India and these two seasons include Rabi season and Kharif season. Now comes the Kharif season first. Let us study about the Kharif season first. Kharif season in this season, the crops are grown in the rainy season. During the rainy season, the Kharif season begins with the onset of rain, onset of monsoon. After the first rains, the farmers used to sow the plant in the field. For example, soybean and rice. Right now in this period, the Kharif season is going on and the farmers have already sown soybean and rice in their fields. So Kharif season is a season in which begins with the onset of rainy season. And now comes to the second season, that is Rabi season. Rabi season is the season which is there in the winter season. The crops that are grown in the winter season comes under Rabi crops. And these Rabi crops include wheat, gram, peas. All these crops are included into the Rabi season. The Rabi season usually begins with October or November. From October or November month, the Rabi season begins. Now children, there is one more season which is not so common, which is called as Zaid or Zayed season. Now in this season, it all depends upon the rain, availability of water. If the farmer is having the water in his area, in his village, then only he will be able to produce, he will be able to grow melons, cucumber or watermelon, the plants that are grown during the summer season. So that is called as the Zaid crops, the crops that are grown only during the summer season period from April to May. So this is a short season in between the Rabi and Kharif season, and that only depends upon the availability of water in that particular region. Or if there is no water available in that area, then the farmer will not grow any type of crops in the field and he will leave the field empty. But if the water is available there, then the farmer will grow certain crops and like melons, cucumbers, watermelons, etc. And that season will be called as a agricultural practice, that is the preparation of soil. How soil is prepared before sowing the seeds. A farmer has to prepare its soil before sowing the seeds. Now there are certain steps of the soil preparation. In the soil preparation, the first thing that is done is plowing and tilling of the soil. Now this plowing and tilling of the soil or loosening of the soil. Why this loosening is important? The loosening of the soil is important so that the roots can easily penetrate deep into the soil and the farmer can get a good plant growth and ultimately the produce will be good. Now after the plowing and tilling, the farmer has to do leveling also. What plowing and tilling is helping? Plowing and tilling is helping the soil to get loosened. Now in the leveling, the big chunks of the soil are broken into smaller fine particles of the soil with the help of a leveler. Now this leveler can be of a wooden plank also or a metallic plank also. Now after this plowing of the soil, then preparation of soil is over. Now after the preparation of the soil comes the sowing of the seeds. In the sowing of the seeds, the most important thing to remember is the selection of the seeds. How the seeds are selected so that it can be sown in the field. So the first step, the farmer will see that whether the seeds will be able to germinate or not. For that he can buy a certified seeds from the market. From many government shops are giving the certified seeds at a reasonable prices to the farmers for them to grow in their field. And after the selection of the seeds, how the farmer will test whether the seeds that he has selected are good or bad. He will just put all the seeds into a tank of water and then all the seeds which are lighter, which are bad, which will not grow, will come up on the surface of the water. And he will remove those seeds, and the seeds that settle down in the water means they are heavy, they have got cotyledons in them and they are good for sowing. So he will keep those seeds aside and he will sow those seeds in the field. Now after the selection of this process in the selection of the seeds is over. After that sowing comes. Now in sowing there are different methods which can be followed by a farmer for sowing the seeds. The first method can be broadcasting. That means the throwing of seeds on the field with the help of a hand. It is actually a very ancient process, a method of sowing the seeds when people were not having any equipments or implements to sow the seeds. They were using this broadcasting method only for sowing the seeds. They used to take a bucket full of seeds and they used to throw it, literally throwing it on the field. But this broadcasting has its own disadvantages. First disadvantage is he is just throwing away the seeds on the field. That means the birds will come and eat away the seeds. It will not go deep inside the soil. So the birds will come and eat away the seeds. Next disadvantage is that it will not help in the proper distribution of the seeds. The seeds will not be properly placed at a particular distance from one another. So they will compete for space, for water, for mineral with other seeds, other plants. And ultimately what will happen? The produce will be affected. The main aim of agriculture is to get a good produce. And if that will be affected, then obviously the farmer will get less profit. So nowadays the farmer are using the seed drill method. This seed drill is a type of equipment or implement. It is an agricultural implement which helps to sow the seeds in a proper distance from one another and at a proper depth also. Now this seed drill has got a big funnel and some pipes coming out of it, and the funnel and in the funnel we used to put in all the seeds, and from the pipes the seeds come into the plow. This seed drill is attached to the plow and then it is driven by either a bullock cart or either the bullocks or the tractor. With the help of a tractor, this plow can be driven into the field along with the seed drill, so that the plow is actually dropping one seed at a proper distance and at a proper depth in the soil. So what does this seed drill is ensuring? This seed drill is ensuring that the seeds are properly placed from one another and they are properly placed inside the soil also at a proper depth, so that the birds are not eating the seeds and the farmer get a good growth of plants. So I hope you have understood the broadcasting and seed drill method.
Good morning, dear children. Today we will study about the importance of manures and fertilizers. As you all know that plants need nutrients, and these nutrients are absorbed from the soil. If same crop are sown one after the other in the same type of soil, then it reduces certain type of nutrients from the soil, due to which the crop production reduces. In such case, if the land is left uncultivated for some time, then these nutrients can be replenished, that they becomes available again. But one more method is there to ensure the nutrients back into the soil, and that is adding manures. Now, manure is an organic substance. It is obtained from decomposition of plants and animal waste like cow dung. Usually, the plant and animal waste like cow dung is kept in a pit in an open space. The microorganisms decompose the waste and produce organic manure. Now, adding manures to soil is called as manuring. Improper and insufficient addition of manure results in weak plants, and ultimately the produce will also be affected. Now comes to adding of fertilizers. Another way of enriching the soil is by the use of fertilizers. Fertilizers are chemical substances produced in chemical factories and are rich in a particular nutrient. These are used to enrich the soil with nutrients like NPK. NPK means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium nutrients. Other fertilizers are urea, ammonium sulfate, superphosphate, potash, etc. Fertilizers are provided to plants by spraying or through irrigation. Using fertilizers in production of wheat, paddy and maize, the production significantly improves. However, due to excessive use of fertilizers, the soil becomes acidic and alkaline. Because of it, the soil becomes less fertile. So we should always use the fertilizers judiciously. Fertilizers also causes water pollution by entering into the river water from factories or along with the rainwater from the fields. So now comes to the advantages of manures over fertilizers. Even though fertilizers are more nutrient rich in nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, but we should always encourage the use of organic manures. They enhances the soil capacity and it provides a lot of humus to the soil. It enhances the water holding capacity of soil. It loosens soil so that roots can breathe easily. It increases useful microbes in the soil and it also improves soil texture. So, it is recommended to use organic manure for crop production. Now come to the next topic, that is crop rotation. There's another thing which we can enrich the soil with the nutrients, that is through crop rotation. That is growing different crops alternately. In growing different crops alternately in the same land is called as crop rotation. For example, earlier farmers of North India used to grow legumes in season 1 and wheat in next season. This helps to replenish the nitrogen in the soil. This method is very efficient and so we should encourage the farmers to use it. I hope you have understood this topic very well. Thank you for watching of irrigation. These methods are more economical and more effective as compared to traditional methods of irrigation. The first one is sprinkler system. This system consists of vertical pipes provided with rotating nozzles at the top and are joined to main pipeline at regular intervals. There are two modern methods of irrigation. Now with the help of pump, the water is allowed to flow through these pipes under pressure. The pressure of water makes the nozzle to rotate and water is sprinkled on the crops similar to rain. It is useful if the ground is not leveled or if there is insufficient quantity of water, usually in sandy soil. The next method of modern method of irrigation is drip system. With this system, irrigation is done drop by drop near the plants so that only the part of soil where the roots grow gets wet. It is best suited for fruit plants, garden and trees. Due to drop by drop irrigation, there is no water wastage in this system. However, the irrigation needs to be done more frequently. This system is very useful in the region where the availability of water is poor. So I hope you understood this topic. Now let us see the difference between the traditional method and modern method of irrigation. Traditional methods, it is inefficient as crops don't get water properly, it is very cheap and it is labor intensive. While the modern method is efficient because crops get correct amount of water, it is extremely costly and it is machine intensive, means it requires some machines to irrigate the crops. Whereas in the traditional method, human labor or cattle or other animal can be used for irrigating purposes. So that's all for irrigation. I hope you all have understood the topic well and thank you. Along with desired crops, many other undesirable plants grow naturally. In the fields, all plants other than crop plants are called weeds. Weeds consume water, nutrients, space, and light. Unavailability of all these factors affect the growth of crops. In addition to this, some weeds also release toxins. They are poisonous substances which damage the crop plants and are hazardous to animal and human beings both. Therefore, weeds must be removed from the crop plants. The removal of weeds from crop plants is called weeding. Weeding must be done before flowering of the crop plants. There are many ways to remove the weeds or control their growth. Tilling before sowing helps to uproot and kill the weeds. Manual removal of weed is done by trowel. In Hindi, it is called as khurpi, or even a seed drill can also be used. Some chemicals called weedicides, they are diluted to required extent and are sprayed with the help of sprayer to control the weeds. For example, 2,4-D and metachlor. These chemicals are toxic to human body also. So, they must be handled very carefully. Before spraying, nose and mouth must be covered with clean cloth or a mask.
Good morning, dear students. Now, welcome to the concluding topic of the chapter number 1, crop production and management, and that topic is harvesting and storage. As we have already studied how the crops are sown in the field, how they are nurtured in the field, now the time to harvest the crops, how they are harvested. What is harvesting? Harvesting is the removal of matured crops from the field. That is called as harvesting. Now, what is a produce and a crop or a crop yield? A produce is what we get from the field. After maturing the crops are harvested, and the seeds or the fruits or the vegetables that we get is called as crop produce or crop yield. Now there are various methods, there are various instruments or implements which can be used for removing of these matured crops from the field, and these includes sickle, harvester and a combine. Now this sickle, it is a crescent shaped instrument or implement which is used to remove the mature crop, cut the mature crop from the field, and it is used since ancient times. But it is a time consuming process and it is also a labor consuming process. Nowadays, what is mostly used is harvester or a combine. A harvester is a machine which is used to harvest the mature crop from the field, whereas combine is a machine which is serving two purposes here. That is why we have given the name combine, means it is harvesting the crop also and at the same time it is threshing the crop also. So combine is a very efficient machine which is used to harvest the mature crops, which is very time saving and labor saving process. So combine is widely used nowadays. Now come to the next topic, that is threshing. After harvesting the crops, what needs to be done? Threshing. Now threshing is removal of hard outer covering, that is a chaff, from the seeds or from the crop produce is called as threshing. Now this threshing can be done with the help of a thresher. A thresher is a machine which helps in removal of chaff from the seeds. That is how the threshing is done. Now after the threshing comes the winnowing. Now winnowing is done to remove the hay or chaff from the crop, from the seeds. Now chaff or hay being lighter will fall far away and the seeds being heavier will fall near to the person who is doing the winnowing, and the wind is blown on the crops or this produce so that the lighter particles will fly away and the heavier ones will fall near to the person. That is how separation of this removal of hay or chaff can be done. And this hay, it can be used as a cattle, food for the cattle, and that is called as a fodder. Food for the cattle is called as fodder. So all the things are used here. In the seeds are also separated, and the hay which is being used, it can be used as a fodder for the cattle. Now after all this comes the storage. After harvesting, threshing, winnowing, what needs to be done? The crop produced needs to be stored properly. So that is called as storage. Now it is also a very vital part of agriculture because it ensures the availability of food grain throughout the year in the country. So the main aim of storage is not letting the crop to get wasted, to get spoiled. What is the purpose of storage? To prevent the spoilage of the crops, and do you know that every year? So proper storage needs to be done. Although government has made some agencies and corporations which are solely looking into this purpose of storage of food grains, which ensures the food availability of the food grains throughout the year, and these corporations include Food Corporation of India, that is FCI, and State Warehouse Corporation, which is used for the, which is basically important organizations which is helping in the storage of food grains in our country. Now the storage starts after harvesting of the removal of chaff from the grains. What happens? The crop still has got a lot of moisture in it. So that needs to be removed, and they are sun dried, and then to prevent the insects from attacking the crop, to prevent the microorganisms from attacking the crop, to prevent the fungus from attacking the crop or produce, the storage is done. So the storage can be done in storage bins, silos or granaries. If the amount is small, it can be done in the storage bin. Now in the storage bin, some neem leaves can be spread over as they repel the insects and they don't allow the microorganisms also to grow. And the silos and granaries, when the grains are stored in a large quantities. If the grains are in very large quantities, then it can be stored in silos and granaries. Silos are very big cans of steels or iron, and then where the grains are stored and where no humidity comes, so that the spoilage is very minimum in silos. And in granaries also there are very big warehouses where the sacks of seeds are stored in the and there the exhaust fans are also there, so that all the moistures and all the humidity keeps on going outside the room. So granary storage and silos can be used for the storage purpose, which helps in the prevention of spoilage of food grains. Now all these topics are finished. Let's come to the last topic of this chapter, that is food and from animals. As you all know that animals also plays a very important role in our lives also. They give us milk, they give us meat, they give us their skin and various other products also. So animals are very useful for us. So the animals which are useful for us, which we keep is called as, those animals are called as livestock, which are very helpful for the farmer. And keeping the animals for our benefit is called as domestication of those animals. Animals that include cattle like buffalo, cows, horses, camels, sheep, goat. All these are being reared and by the farmers for their own benefit. They help the farmers a lot. So, and the science which deals in the management or the study of the welfare of these animals, that includes their health care, their food, their breeding, that is called as animal husbandry. So animal husbandry is the science which deals with the study of food, shelter and health of these livestock animals. So children, I hope you all have understood the topics well and nicely.